الحمد لله الواحد المنعم والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنام وعلى آله وصحبه الكرام وسلم تسليما كثيرا ما دام يجري هذا النظام. الحمد لله الذي شرع لنا أحكاما في كل الأمور وشرع لنا فيما بين الأمير والمأمور، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه وخليله، بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الله به الغمة، وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك، فعليه أفضل الصلوات وأتم التسليم، وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين، وبعد. فقد قال جل وعلا في كتابه العزيز وفرقانه الحميد بعد أن أقول أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Inshallah, in today's khutbah, I'll be discussing verse number 185 of Surah Al-Baqarah, the second chapter within the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the month of Ramadan only once within the entire Quran, explicitly mentioning the month of Ramadan and what He desires for us and what is the purpose of Ramadan. From a language perspective, when you look at this phrase or this sentence, in the Arabic language there's a proverb where the Arabs say, خَيْرُ الْكَلَامِ مَا قَلَّ وَدَلَّ. The best of speech is that which is short, concise, and to the point. So if you ever have a conversation maybe with your spouse or a colleague or a coworker, and they're trying to say something but they just prolong the conversation, or they're just dragging you along, they're running around the bushes, they're going from here to Africa to Australia, and they're going all around, and at the end you're like, brother, what are you trying to say? What's the point? And the point is, I just want a little bit more time, or I want a loan from you, or I want something for you, but they don't get to the point. So the best of speech is that which is concise and to the point. When you look at this phrase, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have just said, أنزل القرآن في رمضان فصوموا فيه, that we revealed the Quran in the month of Ramadan, fast in it. He didn't say that, but rather he says, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. The month of Ramadan is which the Quran was revealed in. يعني, the topic or the subject matter is the month of Ramadan. Now the word Ramadan comes from the word shiddatul har, extreme heat, intense heat. And remember, for the Arabs, heat is their norm. If you go to Middle East, in countries, to be in like 90 or 100 degrees, that's the norm. So it is as if Allah intentionally chose the month of Ramadan in extreme heat for the Muslims to fast. And what does He say after that? أُنزِلَ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنِ. We revealed the Quran in that month. It's a beautiful imagery that a person is suffering in extreme heat, and the Quran is being sent down as a form of relief, as a form of a mercy, as rain. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say, أنزل الله القرآن, that Allah revealed the Quran. Rather, the passive was used. أُنزِلَ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنِ. The Quran was revealed. When the passive is used and the doer of action is not mentioned, the focus is on what? The object. What is that object? الَّذِي أُنزِلَ فِيهِ الْقُرْآنِ. The Quran was revealed to you. And you and I need to take a step back. That what is it that was revealed to us? This Quran that traveled through the 7 heavens and the earth, through the Lawh Mahfuz, and it came down to us, what was the purpose behind it? Why did Allah send down this book? And the month of Ramadan is when we commemorate the sending down or the descending of the Quran. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after mentioning this, He mentions 3 things regarding the Quran, which in the Arabic language is called hal, the purpose of something. He says, Hudal linnas, absolute guidance for mankind. وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِّنَ الْهُدَى, clear proofs from within the guidance. Al-Furqan, that which differentiates between truth and falsehood. Now Allah says, Hudal linnas, absolute guidance for mankind. You know, in the Arabic language, there's a beautiful proverb, Aghna sabah anil misbah. You know, if there's like a few lamps around, and then the sun comes out, there's no purpose of it, you just throw out the lamps or you turn them off. So there could be a little bit guidance from this book or guidance from this individual and that individual. But when the Quran is present, it is absolute guidance. Allah wants us to use the Quran as our manual. You know, many a times to make a decision, you'll call your spouse, you'll call your mother, you'll call your father, oh, should I buy this? Should I not buy this? Should I make this move? Should I not make this move? Every single turn and twist that you're making in your life, you're asking your mentor. Allah wants us to use the Quran for every single move that you and I make in our life as our manual, as our guide. And realize what Allah says, Hudal linnas, it is absolute guidance for mankind. Usually people have the notion that Quran is for religious people, people who have two-fist beards and wear a thobe and a kufi. So the Quran was revealed for only religious people. It's not meant for me because, you know, I never got guidance or I never understood it. No. If a person comes to this book with a clean heart, with a clean slate, he or she will be guided. Because there is proven facts that people have been guided through this book. And they have attained salvation in this world as well as in the hereafter. The second thing Allah mentions regarding the Quran, وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِّنَ الْهُدَى, clear proof from within the guidance. You know, often we're always trying to collaborate science with Quran, which is okay and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But one of the things that we do know is science is constantly changing. So after every 100 years, this research is completely invalid. And when you acquaint or you say that the Quran agrees upon it, and when that science changes, what does that do to the Quran? So the Quran doesn't need any outsider to prove its guidance. It in itself is a guidance. And one of the things that we have to understand, the word bayyina means two things, clear and simple. Now the Quran is very clear and explicit in what Allah desires from us and what Allah wants us to refrain from, but it's not that simple. So if I was to say 2 plus 2 equals 4, that's very simple and that's very easy. But if there was to be a professor that comes here and gets on a ladder and just fills up the entire board doing quantum physics, it's clear to him, but it's not that simple. So Quran has been revealed to us in a very explicit manner, but you and I have to understand it on an intellectual level. Because Allah does say, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ, He has made Quran easy for remembrance. He didn't say He made it easy for understanding, because that requires an exercise of the mind. Al-Furqan, that's the third quality that Allah mentions regarding the Quran, that which differentiates between truth and falsehood. We all know Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, prior to becoming a prophet, he was known to be as-Sadiq al-Amin. But when he came with the Quran, and this is the explicit proof between the difference between Quran and Hadith, when he came to recite the Quran, they knew automatically that those were not his words. Those were not man-made words. So they knew that these words that he was saying, it was not from his own side. He didn't make up these words, nor were those words from him. They were able to differentiate between Quran and his words. So the Quran is the absolute truth. It's the absolute haqq. And it differentiates between truth and falsehood. Allah Azza wa Jal then goes on to say, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. He who experiences this month, he should fast in it. وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. And whoever perhaps is ill or sick or is traveling, then they can fast any other days. Tonight, inshallah, we'll be having our fiqh of fasting, and I'll be going over through the permissible things and those things that invalidate our fast, and those things that are permissible in the fast and those things that aren't. But the idea over here, it shows how pragmatic and applicable Islam is and how relevant it is. That Allah Azza wa Jal is considering those people who are sick, the women folks, right? Our elderly within our communities, who are not able to fast. shows how wholesome Islam is as a religion. If you are sick or if you are traveling and due to inconvenience you are not able to fast, fast any other day. If you're not able to do that either, just give fidya, feed the poor. Then Allah Azza wa Jal says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرِ. He intends ease for you. What amazes me is in this verse 185 of Surah Al-Baqarah, the whole time Allah's name is not mentioned. But finally Allah's name is mentioned. And you know what it's mentioned for? Allah intends ease for you. وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرِ. He does not intend difficulty for you. It seems as if Allah is being redundant here. Because if I was to say, hey, I want to make this exam easy for you, by default it means I don't want to make it hard for you. If I was to say, I'm going to make this exam extremely hard for you, that means it's not going to be easy, be prepared. But Allah clears the mind and the notion and the understanding of the believer that He has prescribed fasting upon you for 30 days. In the previous verse it is mentioned, أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ جَمَعْ قِلَّةٍ, just for a few days, 30 days. He doesn't want you to suffer. He didn't want to make it difficult upon you. Allah made it easy upon you, and He does not intend to make it difficult for you. We all know that perhaps within the month of Ramadan, and we can agree upon this, that because of the rahmah and the mercy of Allah, it's actually easy to fast within the month of Ramadan than it is to fast outside the month of Ramadan. And then Allah Azza wa Jal ends off this verse very beautifully. وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. And He intends that you fast within these days, takmeel, with perfection. You know what happens to many of us, we're like, oh, which day is Ramadan? Is it Wednesday or Thursday? Oh brother, it's on Wednesday. Okay, I'm going to get ready. So you're spiritually in this adrenaline feeling and all boosted up and whatever. First 2 nights, you're like, I'm going to pray every night 20 raka'ah. You come for the first 2 nights and after that you die out. Your battery's dead. And you know what you tell yourself? Oh, when 27th comes back, watch, I'm being the first saf, brother. You're going to see me in the first saf. And those remaining 15, 20 days, you just drag along, just fast, and you sleep, and you just get through the fast. No, no, no. Allah says He wants to see perfection in every single day. The first day, the second day. The second day should be better than the first day. The third day should be better than the second day. The fourth day should be better than the third day. Every single day, you should be inching closer to Allah. You should be increasing in your ibadah, not decreasing. So Allah wants to see your efforts. وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ. These days count. وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. And that you praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has guided you and He has given you this opportunity to fast. وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And perhaps you may be amongst those who are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just to give this understanding of how important it is that insha'Allah in a few days we'll be experiencing the hilal and the moon of Ramadan. Talha ibn Ubaidillah radiyallahu anhu, and I'll end off with this hadith. He came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said that I saw 2 companions who accepted Islam by you. And both of them have passed away. The first one passed away as a martyr, as a shaheed, and the second one had a normal death. And he passed away the year after. But I saw that the one who passed away the year after, he entered Jannah before the martyr and the shaheed. How could this be, O the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And bearing in mind the reward of a shaheed, a martyr, that before the blood falls on the ground, all of that person's sin is forgiven and he's entered into Jannah. But how can this be that the person who passed away the year after, and they both accepted Islam at the same time, this person sacrificed his life in the path of Allah and this guy just fell asleep in bed and passed away, but he enters Jannah before the shaheed? So the Prophet ﷺ responded back in the affirmative saying, yes indeed, this is correct. Because the person who passed away the year after, has he not performed 6,000 odd more rak'ah? Has he not performed 1 extra Ramadan of siyam? Has he not given 1 extra year of zakat? Has he not performed 1 extra year of hajj or umrah? And he responded back by saying yes. He said because of the extension of 1 year of ibadah of worship, he entered Jannah before the shaheed. Every single one of us sitting over here know of a family member, of a colleague, or someone from the community that was present with us last Ramadan or 2 Ramadan ago. Because of COVID they passed away, or whatever reason they passed away. You and I need to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has kept us alive and that inshaAllah, bi'idhnillah, by the permission of Allah, we will be entering the month of Ramadan. أَفَلَا أَكُونُ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Should you and I not be grateful servants? May Allah Azza wa Jal make us amongst the shakireen, and may Allah Azza wa Jal give us the ability to worship Him with excellence and ihsan within the month of Ramadan.